All right, hey, what's up everybody? Jesse here with Southern Reels Fishing, out cleaning my boat this afternoon, which I just finished a while ago. Just got some supper. I'm all full and happy right now, and I just wanted to come shoot a quick video talking about the trolling motor that I have on my boat back here. It's not a Garmin, and that's what I said I was going to do in my last video with that Garmin trolling motor, but I changed my mind. Before I get into this though, I want to give a shout out to Stroud and Son Marine down in Hertford, North Carolina. Key West dealer, Carolina Skiff dealer, Old Towne kayaks. Incredible guys, hometown dealership, family owned. They hooked me up with both of the motors. Actually this boat and everything, they've been my go-to source for parts, service stuff like that, service parts. I do all my own service work. So check them out. I'll put a link in the description to their dealership. Once again, it's like these trolling motors, they got them next day for me, which is impressive. So anyway, big thanks Joe, I appreciate it, I really do, brother. But anyway, I wanted to do a video talking about a video I actually did about a month or two ago about that Garmin trolling motor, the Force Kraken that I bought and put on my boat. And in that video I listed all the reasons and things and issues that I had with it. And most importantly, at the end of the video, I said that I was willing to stick with it. Well, after I did that video, immediately we went off on vacation for a week at the Outer Banks. I had quite a bit of downtime and was able to really think about it, and actually called and talked to Garmin once again just to be sure about what I was thinking about doing. And after many discussions with them, they made it very clear that there's just not enough people complaining about the issues that I had with the motor, mainly being the delay on the left-right steering, the spotlight not functioning the way it should, are the two main issues that I had, and there's a few other annoyances. And them saying it's probably not going to get fixed anytime soon because not enough people have complained about it, to be honest with you. So I decided to sell the brand new one that they sent me in the box, and I put it on Marketplace. I was up there about a week, and a gentleman hit me up in Chesapeake. He got a great deal on it. I got my money back out of it and immediately placed an order for the new Minn Kota Quest Terrova 72-inch shaft motor. All right, real quick, y'all, I had to add to the video and mention that the model of Minn Kota I got was the Terrova Quest version, the brushless new version that they have. They also have the Instinct Quest, which is the self-deploy motor that they redesigned. That's what they call it now. It used to be an old Terrova. I had two of those years past. To be honest with you, you could not pay me to put one of those on my boat at this point. I had so many issues with it. They completely redesigned it from the ground up, very similar to how they did the Terrova. Huge improvements there. I'm sure that's got some huge improvements as well. I'm just not willing to risk it. It's a lot more money. It's a failure point that you really don't need. I wouldn't waste the money on it. I would just get a Terrova. Save yourself a bunch of headache down the road, because sooner or later it's going to fail. I'm sorry. So I went back to Minn Kota. Basically was the decision that I made when I was on vacation. You know, I've had a lot of experience with them. You know, they've had issues as well. They've always kind of stood behind their product as well. I just know that they know how to build a trolling motor, basically is what it came down to. I know what to expect from it. This new one, I have to say, I've had it on here for about 3 weeks now, almost a month, and I am very happy with the purchase. The new advanced spotlight that it has, the same as Garmin, you know, multi-band GPS, is literally 10 times better than what my old last generation Terrova was. It's impressively good. Now, just to give an example, I'm putting it in challenging situations out there on the Bay Bridge, up against pilings, up under the bridge. For the most part, with my old Terrova, I was probably about 50 to 60% manual control when I was out there on my charters, just having to drive it manually because it just would not even remotely hold close. Every now and then it would, and I was like, oh, thank Lord I could take a break. But that's just how I operated my charters. I was pretty much full-time manually controlling the motor. Now this one here has literally dropped all the way down to about 15 to 20%. That's a huge improvement. The spotlight is way better. Not only that, but the way it moves and makes corrections is much smoother. You can tell they really worked on the algorithm to kind of smooth it out, because my other one, it would just sit there and just turn and turn and turn. This one is just, it thinks about it. It's real slow and gradual and smooth, and it applies the power when it needs to get you back, and it ramps up the motor, you know, nice and smooth instead of just coming on all at once. You know, it's incredible. alone made the purchase worthwhile for me, just to be straight up. I love it. Other than that, it's got the brushless motor. It's completely silent. It is very powerful. It says it's 115 pound thrust. My other one was what, 112 pound thrust, the old Terrova. It is definitely way stronger than that one. So whatever scale they're using, it's not really translating correctly. Now keep in mind, I do have a lithium 36 volt and 100 amp hour. So full charge, I'm 42.3 volts, I think is what it is. So I'm sending some serious juice to it. And she moves. She'll pull the boat almost 5 miles an hour, which is impressive. Not that you ever really need that, but it will definitely hold you in the absolute worst currents in the bay. No problem. Now, not that you can actually fish in those, but if you need to hold the boat, it can do it for you. So yeah, love it. Now, just to show you a couple of things about it, in comparison to the Garmin, I've had both, experience with both. I've had both mounted. This thing here is a freaking tank. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is built so heavy duty compared to my old Terrova. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the mounting plate here, this is 1/2 inch thick aluminum. That's unbelievable. When they say they over designed this thing and thought about it, they are not kidding. Now that Kraken, it was a nice motor. It's nowhere near as heavy a duty as this one, just plain and simple. It's not. This motor is heavy. The shaft is heavy. Everything about it is built sturdy, built to last. I was impressed. I actually chose to mount it without a quick release on the boat to bring the motor height down some, because this one actually has a special quick release bracket. Even their heavy duty old one won't fit it because it's so wide in comparison to the old Terrova. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to mount it solid to the deck like I did right here. Brought the overall height of it down about 1.5 inches, because this sticks up pretty good, you know, the way it's designed. It doesn't bother me, but the neat thing about it is most of their motor unit is underneath it when it's down, so it sticks down here, so you're not losing any depth of what it can reach, basically. Also, I had to put a massive reinforcing plate on the underside of my deck up in here, bolted up. It's literally the size of this entire front area right here, to support not only the weight of this thing, but just how strong it can pull. And even still, like if I'm in some rough waves and it lifts the front of the boat out of the water and it drops back in and it corrects at full power, I can see it flexing the entire front of the boat here. So I actually need to put a bigger plate and extend it even farther down into these areas to be able to hold how much force this thing has. It's unreal. It is a strong, durable motor. Now it's really nice because it's got this guide here to help keep the cord from getting wound up. It's got this built-in lock that you just flip right here. See, that's unlocked, so you can hit the lever and deploy it. You just flip this up when you stow it, and that keeps it from accidentally deploying, you know, like some of the other ones had issues with. Actually, a friend of mine had a Terrova, you know, destroy itself when he was running about 30 miles an hour. Just whoop, surprise. So that kind of sucked. But I still use the clamp just for extra reinforcement when I'm traveling in rough conditions, just to be safe. But it's so much heavier duty, and even the shaft itself is so much stiffer that the old one, it used to bounce around terribly. You know, if you didn't have this part of the motor supported, this one really doesn't. It just kind of sits there. It is a thoroughly well-built motor, plain and simple. A couple issues with the Kraken that I noticed, you know, when it was locked in position and it was spot locked, making correction, it had this weird like popping sound from the 2 little pivot pins that locked it in place. It was kind of annoying. This one definitely doesn't do it. Another big annoyance with that Kraken was the remote. I'll be honest with you, whoever decided to not put the prop button, the main on-off prop button, in between the arrow keys like this one is, this makes sense. On the Garmin it's not. It's like up here to the side, and it feels like just all the other buttons. And it was so annoying for me, especially having to make corrections all the time and having to reach for it quickly and try to get that muscle memory down. Why they decided to do that is just beyond me. It's just a bad call. This makes sense. This is why all the manufacturers do that. Garmin's not like that, so it was a very annoying thing about that remote. The spot lock on this behaves exactly like you would think it should. It will hold in a cross current. It holds beautifully. It has none of the issues that the Garmin motor had. The response of the steering of it is super fast, just like you would expect it to be from Minn Kota. Everything about it, I love. The only complaint that I have about it, and it's not really a complaint because it's preventing a problem, is that if you're steering it and you come all the way around and then you go too far, the old Terrova, you could actually spin it like 2 full rotations before it would stop and then unwind itself. This one here, you can get a 3/4 rotation all the way around and then it stops. It won't go any farther. And there's been a couple times where I was trying to back us up and then I started headed towards the pilot, and so I turned and wanted to go away and it wouldn't let me go. And I'm like, what the heck? And it's because it's at that actual stop that's built into it. It's just something I'm having to get used to. It's not a big deal. It's definitely something you got to think about and pay attention to. Now the Garmin was nice when it unwound itself. This is something I did like about it. It did it really quick. It had like variable speed steering. It would get to a certain point and then it would just go whoo, like that and correct. This one doesn't unwind itself in that manner. As far as an only complaint, that's not bad. It is ultra silent. The steering isn't quite as quiet as Garmin's, but the fact that it is instant response on the remote, the way it should be, versus Garmin's almost a full second of delay when you turn left and right in manual mode, that's so off-putting, especially for somebody like me who's having to manual control at times next to structure. It was very annoying. I know why the Garmin's do that, and it's because some of their buttons, if you tap it, it does something. If you hold it for more than a second, it does something else. They have logic on the buttons that causes it to do that, and all they did is apply that same logic to all the buttons. So same for the steering. If you tap it, it'll move it 1 degree. If you hold it for at least a second, and then it'll start turning. But it shouldn't be like that. They just need, it's all software stuff is what's crazy. But I'm just not willing to wait for them to fix it. Oh, another thing that I was worried about that I really loved about the Garmin is it has this little red indicator around the circle of the screen that shows you which direction the motor is pointing. Somebody like me that's a captain, that's at the back of the boat, there's always people up in the front of the boat. Most of the time I can't see the trolling motor. I really liked that feature about the Garmin, because I can take a quick glance and know that if I turn the motor on, it's going to pull me in the direction that I expect it to without having to see the motor. That's a really nice feature. I was worried about losing that, but actually it's on the Minn Kota. There's a little indicator in the center that indicates which direction the power head's pointing, so I didn't really lose that feature. Now it's not quite as finely detailed as the Garmin is, but it's something that Minn Kota could actually fix in a software update on a remote. But it's nice that it's there and I didn't lose that function, so that's really cool. Other than that, I haven't even really used any of the other advanced modes built into this new motor, like drift mode. Nav mode worked fine. I did try that one time. I don't really use any of the other stuff. The fact that it doesn't tie in with my chart plotter, I really don't care, because I didn't use that in the Garmin anyway. It was nice that it did tie in with my chart plotter, but I don't fish contours and do all that kind of stuff. It's just, that's not the kind of fishing that I do. For me, this is the perfect trolling motor for fishing the Bay Bridge Tunnel, fishing around structure. The spot lock is way better than the old one. It's got all the power you could ever need. It's super quiet. It is built like a freaking tank. It's the heaviest duty trolling motor I've ever seen. It's, even compared to my old Terrova, it makes that one look like a toy. And I'm not joking. It's a beast of a motor. Now I did take a good look at the power pole move, I have to admit. It seems to be a good concept. I like it. I don't like the design of the top of the motor. I think to me it's just ugly. The mounting pivot system seems kind of overcomplicated. I like the theory of all the built-in redundancies for failure. The biggest drawback for that was their remote and the fact that it's just buttons. It doesn't have an LCD screen on it. How can you charge almost $1,500 more and then have it come with a basic remote like that and say the reason you did it is because, oh, it's a failure point? That to me doesn't make sense. It needs to have a screen on it, because same thing, like for me, being able to know which direction it's pointed in, that's a very useful thing to know if it's on or off, because honestly these motors are so quiet you can't really tell unless the boat's actually moving if it's on or off. Just all the features, what mode you're in and all, and for them to not do that, it doesn't make sense. And there's like, oh, well, there are lights on the motor that tell you that. Once again, I'm at the back of the boat. I can't see the motor. I have clients. Now for people that are just normally fishing, it's fine. It would probably work great. Just like the Garmin motor. For 90% of the people out there, I'm sure that motor works awesome, and I'm glad. I'm glad it works for you. I wanted it to work for me. I like the motor. I like Garmin. It just isn't there for the unique situations that I fish on the Bay Bridge Tunnel in the heavy currents, cross currents and stuff like that. It just didn't know what to do with it. It can be fixed, but I'm just not willing to wait. So I went back to Minn Kota. And I am thoroughly glad that I did, because I love this motor. I'm 1 month in right now. It continues to impress me. It's probably one of the best purchases I've made in a while, other than the lithium upgrade. That was incredible as well. That's my 2 cents worth. I tried to love the Garmin. It's just not ready yet. Minn Kota knows how to build a motor, and they went overboard on this one, let me tell you. That's what's up. That's where I'm at. Back to Minn Kota. I should have never left, honestly. Anyway, peace out. See y'all.